What's up, guys? Welcome to Appropriate Culture. On today's episode, we're talking about cancel culture. Stay tuned. And we're live. Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Delicious. Very nice.
So, let's go ahead and get right into it. This episode's all about cancel culture. We're in a new environment, new office. We've relocated temporarily.
Yeah, new space. Feeling good.
We're feeling great right now. We're feeling purple right now, is what I'm saying. So, in regards to today, there's several areas that we can go into. But I would probably say right now cancel culture it's peaking as far as like relevancy.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, so today I was just looking on the news. One of the first things that popped up on my feed was a CNN article called "It's Time to Cancel Culture," and basically
This is today.
yeah, just today. I think it was posted like 8 hours ago or something like that.
Okay.
And so actually, I think why don't we get into what cancel culture is? I mean,
Yeah.
what do you see cancel culture is, or how do you define it?
Sure. I was actually looking at the definition earlier today, like the actual official definition, quotations. I'm going to actually pull it up real quick, and then I'm going to give you essentially what I think, which is, let's see here. So, cancel culture, and I'm doing this on Google. And let's see what we got here. So in Wikipedia, which, take it for what it is, we got here says, cancel culture is a modern form of ostracism in which someone is thrust out of social or professional circles, whether it be online, on social media, or in person. That's just the first two liners. There's a whole obviously thing on it. But that's actually not far from what I was going to say. Unfortunately, there's nothing good that can come out of cancel culture. And we can go down that path, but as far as my definition of what I personally see this being, for what it actually is anytime someone or something, like an entity or a business, is doing or saying something that somebody just simply does not agree with.
Yeah, finds offensive.
Not with their line of beliefs, that is enough to trigger that person to either report it as offensive, spammy, fraudulent type content, and or go as far as like getting petitions from people and really going out of their way to make sure that this individual or this thing doesn't keep doing what it's been doing.
Yeah.
And so I've tried to look at this as far as like all the people who are actually actively canceling other things and people out there, those people who are literally going and doing the deed, oftentimes you try to understand where they're coming from. But it's pretty easy to boil it down, which is you're soft. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I actually was gonna make a similar point, and my whole view on it is like you have too much fucking time. Like, how do you have time to spend hours just like trolling someone or like trying to get their page taken down or whatever? Like, the reason cancel culture is such a thing is because so many people just like don't have enough to do. Like, they don't like spend some time, like figure out your purpose in life and like go do that. Like don't rag on someone because they disagree with something or say something. Like, a lot of times it's someone did something or said something offensive, and then the person who's offended, who's like a random viewer on the internet, like goes on a rampage and like will post on their page and then like make all these posts. This person's racist, like they need to be canceled. Like nobody support them, boycott, whatever. And it's like, I mean, we live in America. Like it's a country based off slavery, off, multiple cultures where there's been so many like eras of discrimination and like, where it's different groups. Like what's offensive today, 20 years ago wasn't offensive. 30 years ago, it's like, I mean, for the vast majority of people, I mean, some things like, I mean, where it's something like inherently racist, I'm like, yeah, you guys for your own sake should change that. Like,
so let's we have several examples about this.
Right.
So for the Aunt Jemima,
yeah, that
okay,
Aunt
I
Jemima's
actually
perfect.
just saw the updated new version. Have you seen it? So basically, the lady, she's off. It still says Aunt Jemima like on the bottom right, but the name is like this lame name now. It's like it was so bad I forgot it. Like it's very boring.
Aunt Karen.
It's I could look it up real quick, but
yeah, I mean, same thing with like the Washington Redskins. They're
exactly.
They're now the Washington football team. I mean, and actually that I actually kind of agree with. I think the Washington Redskins having a Native American like as their logo, as their mascot, I think
Pearl Milling Company. No, Pearl Milling. Yeah.
Oh,
that's the new.
Wow, that's awful.
That's exactly. And we're gonna flash this on the screen so people can take a look at what social justice has achieved for us. And I mean, for example, let's talk about this one right here. So we said that you knew the owners were white. I remember we talked about this before.
Oh, so the company, yeah. I mean, the company that created it is not. It wasn't like a black-owned company that like wanted to start this.
So in this case, was the cancel worthy or not worthy?
Me personally, I think it's like so far like out of date. It doesn't like, Aunt Jemima's been a thing for however many, like 50, 100 years. Like, you cancel it now. It's like
she will live on.
Yeah.
Like that will put like the emphasis on why people will continue to remember Aunt Jemima for like, and go out of their way to talk about it, really. Because before it was just, it's some syrup. Yeah. Put it on the pancake. You know what I'm saying? Like, who gives a damn?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, me personally, like, I generally don't take offense to something like that. But, it's like if you were truly offended by it, I mean, I that one, I actually, if someone's offended by it, like, I don't blame them. It's like, it's the same with, like, blackface.
Okay, so
like, putting someone, like, a caricature of a black person, like, being racist, like, making them, with big lips, like black.
So like old cartoon type stuff.
Old.
Okay.
It's called blackface.
So that's a good one. I just read another article yesterday about them trying to cancel characters like Speedy Gonzalez. Ooh, and then you have a bunch of Latino people coming out and be like, for the record, us Latinos, we love Speedy Gonzalez. Oh, yeah. We need to keep this guy alive. Like, do not get rid of him. Well, and so I'm like, how far do we got to take this? Everything's fucking racist at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like just the history of our country. And, I mean...
Just cancel everything. Just fucking cancel everything. Everything canceled. Guys, we're shutting down everything. Nobody can get annoyed anymore for any reason, for any purpose. Or you're getting canceled.
I mean, I really think, companies or brands that have something that's like clearly like offensive to some people, especially if a lot of people.
But like what? I mean, like, give me another example that's more offensive, like the Aunt Jemima thing.
The Washington Redskins, like that's the like Redskin and showing a picture of a Native American chief or whoever with like
is
feather in his hair.
The same equivalent of saying like.
It's like saying darky or like, I mean, blackie. Like
got
if
it,
someone
got it.
called my family blackie, they call me blackie. I'm like, my skin's not black, so I'm like,
it's offensive.
Yeah, it's
like you're going out of your way to make a nickname out of. But yeah, something that's already...
I feel like I would probably be offended more so than some other people, like just because like I'm part black. Like I went to a black school, I consider myself a black person, at least as much as I consider myself a white person.
So, I guess what I want to come down and try to get to the bottom of here is, one, is this productive? Like, let's play this out. Like, let's just say we're all just keep canceling things out, okay? Let's just play how that rolls. But two, who are really the type of people who are really doing it, and why do we think they're actually doing it for?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, you have to be a certain type of person to really be a part of this sort of army that's out there to just take things down that don't go along with your ideology. I mean, I know there's plenty of things out there that don't go with my ideology about life. I'm not gonna waste any of my time trying to take it down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes to something about your personality. Like, you really just don't have time for that shit, though.
Don't.
You know. Plus, I mean, even if I did have time for that shit, like, there's so many better ways to use your mind. And like, I mean, learning something, reading books. Like, I literally, my reading list, I could spend the rest of my life reading or listening to audiobooks and still not even scratch the surface of what's out there. So, I mean, I think the point I would like to make is just like, you know, if something offends you, you know, you can make a point, but like, don't make it a crusade. Don't make it your whole life. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and also try not to be so offended by things. You know, I think people
That's the other thing.
like,
the whole offended part. Let's talk about that part, because I think there's a reason our generation has been labeled as the snowflake generation. And that's because generations older than us, I've come across this multiple times in real life and in the online world, where they looked at our generation and then even the one under ours. Which one's Generation X or something?
X, Generation Y.
So there you go.
Generation Z. And then millennials.
And so basically, we're looked at as all as a bunch of pansies that can't handle the world, especially in situations where kids are coming out of college. And so what's funny about this whole college situation is, back several decades, it seemed like the college situation was really going out of the way to say that this is a place for open debate, where people can come and learn and understand different points of views and expand their overall mentality and go back into the work environment and be an asset. Right?
Yeah.
That was the idea. At some point along the way, that they got tossed almost 100% out the window by this point, 2019, 2018, and all up until now, with social justice nonsense written all over it in a very one-sided way. And so what you have is major pushback from college students trying to cancel things they don't even know what they're trying to do. Don't even know what they're trying to do. So I've seen this repeatedly, where certain, let's just call them public figures, okay, different people who have different YouTube channels, they either speak at conventions, whatnot, and they get asked to speak at a certain college. Almost 100% of the time, whenever it's an individual who has any sort of right-leaning idea, like as far as what they're here to talk about and where they fall on the spectrum of political, the political line,
like conservatives,
yeah, essentially, almost every time at this point, depending on what college you go to, if it's a more liberal area, you will face, especially if you're somewhat well-known, crazy little riots stopping your event from happening. Literally, kids like holding their hands in front of the gymnasium, blocking the doors, open violence, full-on harassment to the people who are showing up to the events, going into the auditorium and starting to yell over the speaker. The full nine yards.
Have you seen like an example of that?
Many. Yeah. I can definitely. Yeah, we can link some in the description. Basically, any college from any major city, I could find footage from any major college in the United States that is a blue state.
Yeah.
Easy.
I do remember seeing some stories like that. Yeah, where people like kids on college campuses did like a protest or like locked the auditorium or something, or like made like a human chain. I can't think of a specific one. There was, I think it was a Republican politician.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but yeah,
Every time. I mean, I could start naming off several people, like Ben Shapiro's one of them, and all kinds of people who are doing that type of information base. They're getting canceled on a physical level when they're showing up to places, to the point where they've had to start showing up with like big teams of security, or just not doing those shows anymore. Period, because it's just not worth it. Right. And these other individuals in the schools, they see it as like a little hooray win. But I'm here to say a few things to these people who feel like they're so educated while they're in college acting like this. For people who have come, there's a reason people come from outside the United States into the United States. And not as many come from go to outside and leave to live. And that's because we've done something right. And I know we like to rag on the United States all day long for the last couple of years. You can't say anything positive about this country. And honestly, I find it fucking disrespectful that the majority of these kids in college are just shitting on the country like it's going out of style.
Yeah. I mean, I have friends, who are like, will post on Instagram, like, abolish the United States. And I'm like, yo,
dude,
like,
you need to calm down.
I really don't. I understand, like, you're upset, but like, I don't think you understand like what you're really saying, because, anarchy is not going to be anything better than what we're dealing with right now. If anything, it's just going to allow the people who are already, manipulating things to just like do whatever the fuck they want.
And for the record, you go down this path of everything that doesn't go along with what you think should be right, you go out of your way to cancel it. For the record, eventually your shit's going to get canceled. Think about that for a second.
Right.
Because eventually somebody else is not going to like what you're doing, and they're going to understand this whole canceling game, and they're going to use it against you.
Yeah.
So be mindful that you're creating this reality for yourself.
Word. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people, get on that, like, self-righteous thing, and it's funny because I feel like a lot of the people who start these, cancel campaigns have something in their background that's like hella scandalous or hella shady, where it's, they'll like do this for like a month or two, and then someone does some, like, digs up some dirt behind them.
They'll find they're just a regular person who messes up left and right.
Yeah, or doing the same thing or even worse. Yeah. So let's. I want to talk about some examples of people who have gotten canceled. Recently.
I got a good one recently.
But let's go back to your questions of is anything productive? Can anything productive come out of cancel culture? And I think.
Let me know. Yeah.
It
what do you think?
will. It's like. Directly, probably not. It's like I personally don't really believe in pushing against things. I think if you have a cause to champion, you should like pursue that cause and pursue like promoting that cause or whatever. But if you're like just trying to fight against something because you don't like it, it's like you're just gonna add more of those like similar things, like things of a similar vibration like into your life. You're just gonna find more and more things to fight against, and then that's gonna be your whole life. You're just gonna be like the one person who's always angry, like offended at everything, trying to get everything canceled that offends you, and it's like you're literally gonna spend the rest of your life doing that. However, the good thing I think can come out of cancel culture is for people who just kind of post all types of, all types of things, and without thinking about it first, and like, maybe are super offensive, or, maybe work at a company and they post stuff, and then people, in that company or around them are.
What's that line of offensive? Like, let's talk about that. Like, where does it start?
Yeah, word. I mean, it's a blurry line.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a hella blurry line.
Who created the line?
Like, what is
and
racism?
What is their reasoning for the line? Like, that's my point.
Word. Yeah. I mean, and it's actually kind of reminds me of our episode where we talked about censorship, and there's random,
random
Facebook,
people in the back end.
Yeah, random people like checking fact checkers, or yeah, I had a promo profile one time, years ago, and someone like sent me a message like you need to post a profile picture or we're gonna like delete your account or something. I was just like, it was a random person.
Wait, this was on Facebook?
Yeah, on my Seattle social back in the day, I had like club flyers as my profile pictures, and like I kept getting like creepy messages, so I changed it. And then some random person who was probably one of those creepers like posted on my thing like, "Hey, you need to like verify, like we need to verify your profile, or you'll be deleted or something." And I'm just like what?
On the page that you started?
Yeah, because I guess because it was a business page, and I was had a personal profile. This was like,
it's still your page.
Yeah, but anyway,
see, that's my point.
Yeah,
it's that entitlement. It's that entitlement.
Yeah,
it's pure entitlement if you think about it. Like, who are you to say this needs to stop? Who the fuck are you? What makes you so graceful to be able to go through life and be like, racist, gotta go down, sexist, gotta go down, misogynist, gotta go down?
Yeah, I mean,
what kind of high horse is this?
So there is. I mean, the line is blurry, but I feel like there are definitely examples of times where someone clearly crossed over the line, or like jumped way over the line, and then are just like being super offensive or racist or
so let's talk about that.
Something.
At what point does that line begin?
Oh, it doesn't. I mean, I'm saying
like that point where like that everybody thinks this has crossed the line.
The line's somewhere way back there, but we're clearly on the other side of it. I mean, if you're saying like stuff that's like actually racist, actually offensive, like inciting violence against somebody, like, and that's the thing. It's like cancel culture doesn't necessarily need to be a thing. If you're going that far, like people are just gonna stop fucking with you or stop messing with you. It's like people or companies, it's like if you're really doing like something that bad, like you don't need to be canceled because the people who are offended were just like not gonna mess with you anyway. But this new culture of like kind of extreme, like you have to take a side and you have to fight against something, like conservative liberal, like or like racist versus everybody, like all this stuff. It's like if that's really a thing, it's just like it's gonna kind of play itself out.
I agree. I think when you were making a point earlier, you said something in regards of just letting the information flow the way it flows, and things will take care of themselves.
Yeah.
So necessarily, what I agree with that in a sense where you shouldn't have to force your way onto somebody. If you have to force your way onto somebody, it's clearly not working.
Right. Yeah.
And if you honestly think that canceling somebody's channel or getting somebody a strike is like a true win for yourself, and you think that person's just gonna, so I'm just done being the way that I am, like, you're an idiot. As a matter of fact, we've come to find out, we've talked about this earlier, how these individuals who are getting canceled, because they're getting canceled, they end up getting way more publicity.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense if you think about like when a video gets taken off of YouTube or something.
Everybody starts talking about it.
10 times as many people want to see it because it's been banned. Banned from YouTube, or it's like if someone's banned from a social media platform, it's like a ton of people go to their other pages or something. But yeah, I mean, it's a real thing. Just people fighting through it.
Yeah, I mean, it's when it comes down to it. Let's see here. A good example that I just came across. Are you familiar with the rapper Tom McDonald?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so I just recently got around to his stuff because he's been getting quite popular for a couple of reasons. One, great music. So if you like rap or you just like good music in general, go check it out. But it's the 3 type of songs specifically he released this year. That I believe 2020 or even early starting here in 2021. Nice. And one of them is called Canceled, The other one's called Fake Woke.
Ooh.
I know that we're
fun.
getting good here. My guy, he's tearing it up. And I'll have to check what the third one is. What they essentially came out month to month to month, back to back to back. And he is also an independent artist like myself.
Nice.
So always a great appreciation from another independent artist who is absolutely crushing it. And he stated that he truly does the whole thing, produces it, also raps on it, does all the production, funds the whole thing. Like, it's my guy. That's the type of guys that I'm like, that's what's up.
Word, yeah, I appreciate that.
Anyways, releases the songs go fucking wild, like millions of views, right?
Yeah, dope.
To the point where certain news stations, like like TBS type stuff, are like talking about it, making a feature on it.
Oh, well.
And he makes I don't know if it was a tweet or what platform he talked about it, but he said, huge thanks to the fans. 3 of the songs, or however many songs he has on a top 100 or whatever top on iTunes. And then actual screenshots at one point where one of the songs, I believe, is one of the 2 that I said, were at number 2 on iTunes.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
Okay. Number 2, and then a bunch of other ones right after that.
Dope.
Shortly after, you look up the songs, they're removed.
What?
Yep.
Removed
Those 2
from
songs I
iTunes?
talked about, exactly. Yeah. So you literally at one point, I have to double check
What?
to see if they've been updated. I'm not fucking with you.
How the fuck do you get removed from music? Like, explicit lyrics are like, that's nuts, yo.
Nuts. And so I'm gonna look back up again right now if we have time. But this guy, he says some stuff that is straight up, it's just real stuff.
Right.
And one of the lines that is as simple as it gets, and he nailed it, which was something about hate speech is not hate speech, it's just speech that you hate.
Oh, word. Yeah. It depends on your perception.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And it goes back to what I said about that gray line of people being soft in many ways, and just instead of just rising to be a stronger person that understands that the world is not going to go your way every way, and if you're going to get upset every time it doesn't, I hate to break it to you, you're in for a rough one.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a good point. One thing that I was thinking about as I was looking up, artists or people who have gotten canceled, or like who people tried to get them canceled. One of them being Eminem, and he's like one of the most offensive rappers to a lot of people, ever. Just because he just like doesn't give a, he just like says whatever he wants, and so he was recently brought up in this cancel culture thing. Like, people were trying to get him canceled for a song he put out like 10 years ago. I love The Way You Lie with Rihanna, because he was talking about being like tone deaf or something like that. But
Okay.
what's funny is like the song is on an album like
I know the song.
yeah, it's like he puts out an album called like Songs to Get Murdered To or something like that. It's like, really,
It's a bit out there.
you're gonna try to
yeah.
get a song canceled, by an artist who's putting out like songs to get murdered to, like. I mean, it's just ridiculous, especially with music, because it's all about expression, and like part of
Right. Subjective art.
20 years ago, artists were trying to be as offensive as possible, because that's what it's like, you're trying to say the most ridiculous, outlandish thing that is going to get you publicity. People, like, a lot of times people want to be on the front page for like saying something offensive, and so
For the record, the stuff that this guy said, Tom McDonald, none of it is out of line.
Word. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All of it is in a very intelligent, methodical way on how he delivers the lyrics.
Yeah.
And it's every word has a purpose. And you can tell he has worked on his craft a lot.
Word.
Which is why he's experiencing, like I said, he's not only getting well known because of all the controversies being thrown in his direction, but his fan base is just exploded because the dude's actually blown up on his own way.
Yeah, word.
And so what I find it funny is is the aspect that people seem to not really. So, what I've seen many interviews where people go out into the public, specifically around younger crowds like college students, and they'll start talking about how these people. This will be at situations where these kids are at a situation where they're trying to protest for somebody not to come talk. So you'll have other YouTubers coming out there onto the scene and start interviewing people. And they're there to sort of highlight sort of how idiotic this stuff is. Mm-hmm. And 100% of the time, the interviews go something like this. So what are you here for? Oh, I'm here to protest. This one guy that's over here talking over here today. It's absolutely not okay. Okay, all right. Can you tell us one thing that you don't think it's okay that this individual has been saying? Well, you know, I mean, I don't have specifics, but I was like, have you seen like any videos on him? Well, no, actually, I found out about them early today, and you know, and so I mean, I'm just over here with my friends, and the guy's like, okay, so you have nothing to say about the person? No, but I mean, fuck them. And then literally, it goes basically just like that, and I'm like,
I've seen a lot of those videos.
Do you just not have things to do in your life?
Yeah.
And so a person's like, hey, Brendan, we got a thing going on at the cafeteria right now. Come on, man. Grab your beard. And so at this point, I'm like, even when you give them the mic, they don't put the point across as to why they're there for a good reason. Mm-hmm. And even the ones that they do have a better answer, like, oh, this person is for, they're not for abortion. And they're for all these things that are against women's rights. And I'm like, okay. So that person can have that idea.
Yeah,
they're entitled to that.
Yeah.
You have no business going out of your way to try to fuck their life up because they don't think the way you do.
Yeah, that's real.
Independent or where you fall on any of these topics.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that being said, I feel like there are plenty of people who, you know, speak at universities or anywhere where like the students or, you know, people might object to them being there, and they're totally like in the right to protest. You guys are totally like welcome to protest.
As long as it's not violent.
As long as it's not violent, and you know, like, but like, don't go in like bust into the auditorium and heckle the person while they're trying to talk. Yo, like, if there's people there trying to listen to them, let those people do what they want. Like, go do your own thing. Go home. Yeah. Like, go work on your homework.
Don't be that person.
Go figure out why you're on the planet. Figure out what your purpose is.
Don't be that person.
Yeah. So
don't do it, guys. You guys have more class than that. Get out of class. Go have more class, but get out of that class.
Yeah.
Because at one point, you got to wonder, you're like, what is education?
Yeah.
If this is what the result is of kids getting educated, that's bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's horrible.
To that point, I think a lot of education is programming. It's like you're basically teaching people, you know, in elementary, you're teaching them like to be like obedient workers. You know, when they get to college, you're still teaching them to be obedient workers. And like, you know, it maybe it's like a higher level where you give someone a degree and like, you know, they think they're, you know, more accomplished than the average person. But like, you know, college, I feel like the way college is set up now, it's like, pretty much everyone, you know, is expected to go to college. And so if you get a degree, it's like, it's probably not as good as if you like spend that time focused on like, if you already know what you want to do, like figure out what you want to do, you know, not to talk bad about college. I went to college and it was a, you know, very good experience. I would, you know, I don't know if I'd do it again the same.
You think it was worth the money you paid? Or the money that was paid for?
Yeah, that,
because that's a point.
In some ways, yeah. I mean, I do think the experience was worth it, but as far as the education, like most of my education came outside of the classroom, and it was a very, you know, it's very expensive.
That is valuable, yeah. But
as far as, you know, $100,000, $200,000, you know, in student loan debt to go to college, I honestly don't think that's worth it.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I'm a firm believer that when it comes down to education, it should be a sort of open platform in many ways, and it should be molded however way the necessities are there. Yeah. And so overpricing for that type of stuff is ridiculous. But I feel like I might be getting off here on a different tangent.
Yeah.
Why don't we dive into some of the cancel culture stuff that we've been seeing in regards to companies?
Yeah.
Do you have any?
So I mean, we already talked about Aunt Jemima and Washington Redskins. I don't know if the Chiefs changed their name too, but yeah, like the Washington Redskins are now the Washington football team. But yeah, do you have any favorite like companies that you've seen that like have had to change or even?
I know that several Disney movies have been getting called out.
Yeah, actually, Dr. Seuss just recent. I think
Dr.
this
Seuss,
week,
yeah, Dr.
they basically
Seuss.
say they're like the claim is that a lot of Dr. Seuss books have like racist undertones and like the characters are like portrayed in a way that's like demeaning to certain races, and I'm like, yo,
dude,
like,
at one point, every creature in there is weird looking. There's not like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everything in that book is weird looking.
But yeah. And that goes to your point, like, if you're going around looking for reasons to be offended, you're gonna find them.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, we live in America, yo.
Oh, yeah.
We walk down the street, you're gonna find 10 reasons to be offended if you want to. But like, also, if you decide you're not gonna be offended by anything, you can do that too. It's like you don't have to go around being offended, by things that you don't like or other companies. And I mean, I really do get it. Like, if it's something that is affecting your life, or like even making you like really feel bad, or like if a company logo like legitimately like feels.
Oh yeah, the Amazon one.
Oh God, yeah, that's
so the Amazon one.
Yeah.
It's not like their main logos. One of their logos for shipment or something like that. And you guys can look. We'll flash it. And apparently somebody said it looked like Hitler.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny.
I was dying laughing, dude, because I'm like, yeah, I get it. Now that you said it, I get it. But before, I don't think this was put together. I really don't think this was like somebody's like, haha, dude, check this out. Yeah, I'm totally gonna make this box look like Hitler.
Like, what? I mean, what's funny, because Amazon spent probably hundreds of thousands of dollars on that, if not more, and then for them to change it is probably hella expensive. But I looked at both boxes. I'm like, I didn't even notice the difference.
Oh yeah, the only difference is at the top, the sticker, instead of having like this downward sort of ribbon effect, it changed to not that, so it doesn't look like a mustache. That's it. Yeah. That is it. It's the mouth and the mustache. That is it. And that was enough to get somebody to be like, this is not okay.
Yeah. I mean, having a background in marketing, it's like you see stuff like that a lot, where it's like, as a specific company, especially if you have specific values, like you really have to be like hyper aware of the image that you're portraying, because people are so sensitive these days. Like an example would be when I used to work for Kite Hill. It's a company that makes cheese and yogurt from almond milk and coconut milk. It's like a vegan dairy alternative company, and they got a CEO, and it's like they got a new CEO like right before I left the company. And seems like a cool guy. Came over from Mars, but like he
came over from where?
Mars, the company, not the planet.
I was like, hold on, you can't just drop that and just casually just keep talking.
Mars, the candy company. And yeah, seems super cool guy. I actually really liked him. I don't know if he liked me because of this interaction we had, but me being sensitive as a marketer, like we had this kind of group meeting, and he was saying like, hey, we make plant-based products, but we're not a vegan company. So, if you eat meat, if you're not vegetarian or vegan, like that's okay. Like, we're not a vegan company. You don't need to like pretend you're vegan because we're a vegan company.
Sure, yeah.
Like, don't. And I was like, yes, I totally agree. Like, we should be true to who we are. Like, that being said, as a plant-based company, a significant amount of our customers are plant-based. And so if if you're out at McDonald's with a Kite Hill logo on eating a hamburger, and someone snaps a photo of that actually could really damage the image, and it's like, sure. And so it's something that I'm wondering. I'm just like, why are people not more aware of this stuff? Is like I think the governor of California, when the whole COVID like lockdown thing happened, like he was on the news that everyone had to stay home from the lockdown, like no parties, no holiday parties, you can't go over to people's houses, and people were like thinking this is like really like totalitarian control, it's like lockdown. And then I think either that night or the next day he was seen at a dinner party, with like some, like a princess or something from some country, and like spending like that, a ton of money on wine, like all this taxpayer
15
money.
grand.
Yeah, and
to be exact, then, just on drinks.
But for the party. So like something like that, there's a huge backlash. I mean, people try to cancel him, after that, But it's like that's the thing. It's like if you're gonna do something like that, like
if you're gonna pull that shit, then like, you're kind of putting yourself in the block,
to your own, And so for that, it's like I think one positive thing that might come out of cancel culture is people like examining their like what they post and like what they say, and like making sure that like they're at least consistent. Like you don't 100%. Don't like tell everybody in your state to stay home and then you go out and have a party. Like it's just
with no masks.
Yeah, we're in
less than 6 feet apart, just enjoying life where everybody's locked in.
I know, and I was like, oh, that looked like a dope party.
How could you? How dare you? We really need to add that to our our sound effects. And so, okay, well, have you ever been canceled?
I don't think so. I don't think anyone's ever tried to cancel me.
People have tried to cancel me.
For something you said?
Well, I can think of it in several different circumstances that are not just necessarily the obvious ones, like somebody tried to put my channel on strike or something like that. Mm-hmm. Even think about earlier, like in school, whenever there was certain circumstances where I clearly did not agree with either different students or the teacher. Mm-hmm. You could tell that if you didn't, in certain cases, not all, if as the kid, if you didn't buy into what you're being told to buy into, discipline would come right after that.
Or you were expected to keep your mouth shut. I've been in that situation many times.
And so in many ways, that's kind of like the same thing.
Word, yeah.
Where as long as you can't really say what you want to say, because when you did it in the past, you either got grounded, expelled, or whatever, something negative.
Right.
And so I have noticed that the whole ostracizing someone, that's really like the basis of like where this is like it's the shaming.
Yeah, public shaming. Yeah.
Public shaming.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed that seems to be really like, so for example, I'm okay with certain types of public shaming for things that are clearly over that gray line that we're talking about. Right. For example, How to Catch a Predator. Yeah, I talked to you about that show.
Yeah. And
so these are full-grown men trying to get with little kids, and now they're getting exposed on camera, and it's going to be on a TV show. That is exposed. At all.
Yeah, word.
And I don't think anybody disagrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, expose them.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, if like you try to hurt kids, I will come after you myself. I'm a non-violent person, but that's one of the few things that like I will like fight you.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And so we can all agree with certain things like that. If anybody doesn't, you're pretty much like the lone wolf saying some shit like that. Yeah. But when you go beneath that level, when it's less serious than that, that's where we start to enter like that gray area of what is cancel worthy?
Yeah.
And what is just your opinion?
Yeah. When is it just your opinion, and when is it something that's actually like causing harm and needs to like be changed or stopped, And that's a very gray like area, because it's like, where does freedom of speech end and like personal safety and like well-being and like security like start?
There's none, because here's the thing. For example, look at the situation with is it Gina Carrero? She's in the Star Wars series from Disney.
Yeah.
She's one of the big stories about getting canceled right now. And for a little context, she got fired from being on the cast.
From The Mandalorian, Yeah, great show.
There you go. And it seemed like she's pretty good at what she does.
Yeah.
It seems like she definitely performs and takes her craft seriously.
Yeah, she's a good actor. I really enjoyed her in The Mandalorian.
Exactly. And so here's where it starts to get into this cancel culture bullshit. I start finding out that in things like her Twitter, on the bio, I guess it was to poke fun of the people who put their pronouns. They, she, her, whatever. She went and put like beep, bop, boop or something like that. That's some funny shit, right? Like, that's some funny shit. And she posts this content on her that are all sort of fighting back as sort of the social justice movement of making everything okay and making everything just open-ended, and there's nothing with definitions, and we're all just whatever we want that day type of thing. And there's some people like myself who also agrees, like, dude, enough is enough. And at one point, people are going to start making fun of it like this, like putting stuff like beep, bop, boop, bop, and like that's their pronouns. And I'm not saying that that's helping the case. You're definitely asking for some sort of interaction by putting those stuff on your... Yeah. You're sort of kind of like, in a way, asking for it.
Yeah.
But it should not be enough for people to go into your Twitter, see the type of posts you're making, see the type of things that are in your bio, and then go out of their way to tell Disney, you better cancel her type of thing, and start creating petitions.
So, well, I'm pretty sure the main, I know that was part of it.
That was not the main stuff. I was just giving like a dumb part of the whole situation.
But I mean, even the main thing that she got canceled for is
walk us through it.
Yeah, she was comparing like the treatment of conservatives to like the Holocaust, you know, and it's like basically anytime you compare something to the Holocaust is gonna offend a shit ton of people, and you're gonna get canceled. You know, it's like actually Alton Brown, one of my favorite chefs, probably, and my favorite food scientist, made a comparison to the Holocaust, talking about something, and people are like super pissed. He like took a break from Twitter, and like I read it, like I wasn't like, I didn't think it was offensive. I think I was seeing what he was trying to say,
but it doesn't matter how offensive it is.
But yeah, people like
like, who gives a damn?
You know, stuff like that. Eventually just blew over. But yeah, I mean that's a real thing.
It comes. The more we talk about this, the more it just seems like it's the type of person who's filled with that righteous sort of vibe. This weird righteous vibe where they feel like they are here to set straight for how people should go about their lives. Or if not, you're at least going to get punished by getting your stuff taken down or getting fired from your job. And this is how bad we've come. These people will see a post that you made, a post in some cases, try to find out where you work at and get you fired.
Yeah. Well, actually, so I forget the lady's name from The Mandalorian. What's her name?
The one that we were just talking about?
Yeah.
Gina Carrero?
Yeah, Gina Carrero. Yeah. So, well, she got, canceled. She got fired from The Mandalorian, but, like she's already got another gig, and like and now everybody knows her name. Like I didn't know her name before that. Because like it's funny, our friend Mike mentioned, he's like, "Oh, did you hear about like Gina Carrero?" I was like, "Who?" It's like from The Mandalorian. I was like, "Who?" And then he like explained her character and stuff. It's just like, oh, I guess I know her name now, and like.
And was he bringing it up in a sense where he felt like that was a just thing?
No, he was like, he thought it was just like funny or like stupid kind of. But I mean, like. I feel like that one, I think Disney is like had some stuff with like anti-Semitism sexism like in their past, and so I think anytime something like that comes up, they're probably just like, don't, distance us from this.
I mean, Disney has been many times tied with, well, Walt Disney was tied to being racist by many accounts.
Yeah.
Openly racist.
Yeah.
And so you can take that for what you want. I still think they like to make money over being racist.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So they will make that move anytime when they know they can't get away with being racist on their content until so everybody can dissect every single movie and find every racist thing that they can find on so they can take that movie down. And in a way, I'm like, yeah, the more I talk about this, I'm like, dude, this is just, I feel gross even talking about it. It's just low.
Yeah.
I just don't resonate with that type of frequency where you're putting your energy in a way where you're trying to take down creations that in many ways have shaped the great lifestyle that we have here in America.
Yeah. Yeah. And, to that point, it's like I've seen a number of people like where the internet or, people on the internet try to cancel them because of what they actually believe. And it's like, leave him alone. Like, it's like Chris Pratt, he's from Washington.
Perfect example.
Perfect example. He goes to a church that, I guess, so like is thought or known to be, like anti-homosexual, which is a lot of churches are, most of them are like private about it now because Majority. That's a thing. But yeah, it's, but he's just like living his life. He wasn't like coming out like being, trying like telling like bashing gay people or something. It's like there's some like language in some of his stuff that could be seen as offensive. Like, yo, like let the dude like live his life. But if you don't like what he's saying, don't go on his page. Leave him alone.
There's that. And then there's also him trying to do his job and a lot of questions being thrown his way on camera that are kind of like, tell us about your lifestyle. And he shares it.
I go to this church.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, so actually,
and so I'm like, come on, you guys are asking for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, that it reminds me of a personal example where someone like told me someone was canceled because I used to own a cafe in Seattle, and I before I owned a cafe, my favorite coffee shop to go to is, and still one of my favorite coffee shops is Storyville Coffee in Seattle. And because they have the best plant-based milk of any coffee shop in Seattle, if not, in the country. It's like there's very few places I've had that have like good plant-based milk options for like lattes and stuff. And so I'm like, and they make very beautiful like lattes every time. They put a little heart on it. And so I like, I'm on my personal Instagram account, not even on my Celeste Cafe, which I was running at the time account, and I post a picture just of a cup of coffee. It's just a beautiful little cup of coffee, a latte with a little heart in it. And someone was like, "Oh, you should boycott Storyville because they support this church that is, I guess, known to be like anti, or they're supposed to be like they're homophobic or racist or something." And I'm like what? Like, well, me personally, if I feel like, a church is going on the wrong path or like is being, racist or something, or if a group is like, doing something that I find offensive, me personally, I'm going to probably go to that group and try to talk to them. It's like, sure. You're not going to change someone's mind by canceling them and telling them they're just an asshole. It's like, it goes back to our censorship thing. It's like,
it always backfires.
Yeah.
It makes the person even more
determined
about their situation.
They have to defend themselves now, and not only do they have to defend themselves, they're going to get, 20 people jumping on their side being like, hey, I got your back.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
Like, fuck those.
The tribalism kicks in.
Yeah.
And we're all very tribalistic by nature, whether you want to admit to or not. And so that's fine if we like to have our groups. Just as long as there isn't actual violence. Okay? So we're talking about like me going in and beating you up, or me going in and psychologically just trying to destroy you and go out of my way. Unless that's happening, they can do what they want to do.
Yeah. And last example I'm gonna bring up is another local one. So this was kind of a little mini version of like what's happening on a global or a national scale. So there's a restaurant called Galaxy Rune in Fremont in Seattle. And before they opened, the owner was kind of like we were saying before, was kind of poking fun at pronouns. They just find the whole thing kind of weird, and the person's pretty quirky. Like I definitely don't think they were homophobic at all. Actually, I think the guy was transgender at some point.
Damn.
But
yeah, so you really can't.
Yeah, so it's like stupid, but I read the post that that was so offensive. He was like, someone was saying they identify as something, and he was like, well, I identify as a
pink dolphin,
as a extraterrestrial overlord or something like that. And then the person was offended, and I was just like, that sounds pretty hilarious.
But they're playing the game.
Yeah, and their restaurant's called Galaxy Room. They're like into like aliens and like all types of similar stuff that I'm into, but they posted, because they used the word overlord, people took it as offensive against, they thought they were being homophobic because they were talking to someone who about how they identify, and the word overlord, they were saying, means racist. It just take it as racist because overlords were used in slavery to
please.
Overseers.
Get out of here.
Yeah, and that's what my whole thing.
You're
it's
getting
like
so deep into the semantics of the situation.
Literally, and it's a vegan restaurant. The whole vegan, they literally got banned from the main vegan Facebook group. Like anytime someone posts about their restaurant, it's like they're literally banned. They have actually been canceled from the Seattle vegan scene, which is like detrimental to a vegan, company establishment.
Yeah. There goes the majority of your.
And I, like, me personally, like I went in there afterwards. They're not gluten free, so I don't really go there to eat because I have celiac disease. But it's a good company. It's like they're really cool. It's a nice couple. They have a very smart little girl who's like helps out. It's like literally a mom and pop shop. And so I'm just like, yo, like don't. Like, y'all are mad at this person because they said some things that were interpretive as offensive online, but then you're going to Veggie Grill, or some of these motherfuckers go to McDonald's or not McDonald's, Burger King, and get the
veggie burger.
Yeah, the vegan Whopper or whatever. But it's like, yo, you're supporting a company that murders billions of animals.
It does exactly the things that you are absolutely not about.
Yeah, so I'm just like, yo, don't cancel these little guys who just trying to make it, and also don't be so offended. Just chill, let them do their thing. If they say something offensive, maybe talk to them, but don't it was basically a thread that got reposted, and someone went on a campaign to get them canceled, and I'm like, yo, seeing the whole thing is it was really taken one, out of context, but two, just over the top offended. It's it wasn't that bad, and the guy clearly doesn't have a background in marketing, and doesn't didn't realize that this was going to be such a big deal. But it's I think it's ridiculous when it gets overblown, and especially when it's someone who's actually a decent person who's not trying to be offensive. They're just making a joke or something.
Yeah, I agree. But what about how about one we'll close it off with? Here's one where I could actually say people might feel different ways about if this should be canceled or not. Transgender men that transition into women playing women's sports. So I'll set the scene here. For several last years, there's been countless stories about men who transition to women, were already playing that sport as a male at a high level, decided to now compete with the females, and just absolutely crushed it. We're talking bad. In some cases, almost to the point where it was dangerous for the female, in fighting situations, like UFC type things. And the guy transitions to a female, then fights the female, and just absolutely just bashes her head against the ground in situations where you're like, yeah, you could have just killed her. And so there's been so many of these cases now that there has been a little bit of a pushback from females in these professional sports and part of the certain organizations for female rights, pushing back, saying this is not okay and this needs to stop right now and this shouldn't be allowed. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I think if someone changes their gender, like they should still, as far as sports goes, they should.
We're talking about sports right now. Yeah, that's all we're talking about.
You know, it's like a physical thing. It's like I don't think they should be allowed to play on the women's team now. It's like I would feel like a lot of, you know, maybe not a lot, but some people would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a woman," and because I want to be the best.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. There was a guy who I gotta double check his name, but he was on Joe Rogan, and he has his own YouTube channel. I really wish I had it. I'm gonna find it later and I'm gonna put it on the screen. He is just a fit young dude, probably like early 30s, and heard about this whole situation going on with transgender people going into different sports. And for the record, this is only happening in the men going into women. This isn't happening in the women going to the men. Yeah, this isn't a factor in that case. He goes to prove and goes and puts himself in a competition for female weightlifting, powerlifting. Does not train for it, meaning he's been doing his own workouts, but he didn't train for that competition. Says that he is a female. He sees himself as a female. Goes in there, breaks all the records, wins gold on everything, and then fucking leaves. And just did it to showcase how dumb this could be. And he's like, I don't actually see myself as this. I just wanted to showcase how this can take in the direction where you want to play this game. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, but you have a lot of women who have been working really hard, and they're now getting second and third because some dude just showed up out of nowhere, and now he's Cindy.
Yeah, weird.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So cancel that or don't cancel that.
Well, I mean, to me, I'm just like that. Like they shouldn't be allowed.
You shouldn't.
If you're going to separate the sport by gender, like that, you know, because someone identifies a certain way.
Well, but to them, there isn't two genders. To them, the spectrum is this vast, infinite, that there is no gender. And so if you're trying to, this is the argument that you're trying to portray to somebody who's not going by that same logic at all. At all.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen how some of these individuals talk about when it comes down to the sexuality spectrum. They don't think there is one. They're like, it's just whatever. I could be like
fluid.
It's fluid, yeah.
Well, I mean, if the sport is set up like that, then yeah, that's cool. If it's separated men and women, you shouldn't be able to switch sides.
I'm specifically talking about professional sports and outside of professional, at any professional, because you're still, these people, their health is at risk if you don't mesh them up appropriately. And so when you have, I'm talking about in all levels of sport in this situation, because we're not built the same. There's a reason why we've separated sports to begin with, is because we already know how this plays out.
Yeah, men and women are
every time that I played co-ed, somebody got hurt, and it was never on the guy's side. Sometimes they would, because the females would literally be going for you, like to try to hurt you in some cases, try to like assert some sort of dominance because they know they're playing with men. I get that. But I got to be honest, it never plays out well when you have people who are really competitive and you put females and males. Somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get hurt anyways. But in this situation, it's just almost like you hate to see guys just obliterate women in certain physical. And you're like, oh my God, he threw her like a rag. And it's just rough. It's rough to watch that. And then the person who's now transitioned is now holding their trophy like a proud winner. And I'm like, that's fucked up. Yo, that's fucked up. I'm sorry, that's fucked up.
Right.
That's one that I would say cancel that shit. I'm not gonna go out of my way for it. I'm not. You won't see me signing a petition.
Yeah, word.
But if they cancel it, you won't see me like be angry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. To me, that just seems like you're mixing two different things. Like, you know, how someone identifies versus what physical body they were incarnated into are two different things.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I get it. I have friends that identify as like they feel like they're multiple souls. And so they feel like they're a man and a woman in the same body, you know, and it's like,
That's fine.
That's great. Great for you, but
you can have that.
If you were born as a man, like you are probably gonna. I mean, I think you should just stick to competing in men's events. And it's that, and I feel, who knows? We could get canceled for this. Going, people who are
they think this is offensive. Yeah, exactly. But you're proving my point. You're proving my point. This episode gets canceled. Exactly what we said gets proven all the way through, which is at some point here or there, either me or you or both of us had something that somebody didn't like.
Yeah, probably multiple things.
And so, it is what it is. We're coming up here at top of the hour. Yeah. So this was a good one. Yeah. I think we could definitely come back around to this one as things evolve.
Yeah, and we brought up a number of other topics that I feel like will play into other episodes also. And yeah, just to like wrap it up real quick, do you have like a final thought on cancel culture that like where should we go from here? Like, what is cancel culture okay? Does it need to stop? Like, what should cancel culture what should happen with cancel culture?
Yeah.
Now,
people need to calm down. We need to go back to focusing on what you're here to do. Mm-hmm. And if you say that what you're here to do is to stop other people, stop that. Go figure out something more productive.
Yeah.
Because unless, like I said, an actual genocide's happening because of this person's existence, and this person needs to be stopped. Mm-hmm. A majority of these cancellations are not at all on the level of that type of stuff.
Yeah. And, a lot of them don't stick. A lot of people get canceled and they come back.
And they come right back. They come right back. And so all I'm saying is, yes, we're all aware of the things that are fucked up. In that, for like what we talked about earlier, pedophilia, all these other things, for the most part, 99.9% of everybody gets on board with that stuff. If you find yourself in the category where you're trying to cancel, but it isn't one of those topics where it's the 99.9 everybody agrees on, stop it.
Word.
Just stop it.
Yeah, word. So,
what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I really, I think my views kind of mirror yours. I really think, like the CNN article said, it's time to cancel culture. Like,
that's ridiculous. They should be ashamed of themselves. I mean, sorry. They should be ashamed of themselves, because I like that title, but you also said earlier in the actual that it seemed like they played off like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, they were basically
should be shameful for that.
Yeah, saying that it's when things are offended, they get canceled naturally, and that's like how it should be. My whole thing is,
okay, so like they're like justifying the things that got canceled, sort of thing.
Yeah, basically saying that
that's ridiculous.
You don't need to go out of your way to cancel something, but
you can do it in the comfort of your own pajamas.
But yeah, I mean, my whole thing with cancel culture, I think that people really, like you said, need to just focus on themselves. Like, figure out like why you're here, why are you on the planet, like what's your purpose in life. Most people don't know that. Like, spend some time figuring out what you really believe in, like what your purpose for being on this planet is, and pursue that. It's like once you're really like deep into that and you're really like going full force for pursuing your life's purpose, you won't have time to try to get someone canceled or to troll someone online. Like, there's so much out there. There's like, just, you have a supercomputer at your disposal. If you have a smartphone, it's like you literally could be learning something all day every day, or creating art, or making a podcast. If you like don't like something, you can, why don't you create
Click
something
out of it.
Better? Like, what would you like to see? Instead of focusing on what you don't like, focus on what you would like to see, and either find that or create it yourself.
Or make it yourself.
Yeah. So I mean,
I love it.
That's my view on cancel culture. It's like, if you really are pursuing your own passions and your own purpose in life, you don't have time to try to cancel someone else. If it's something that's really offensive, like, maybe say something about it, get some attention to it, like send it to someone else, but like don't make it your whole like life's mission to try to get something canceled. It's like
to silence that person. Or,
yeah, you're gonna be pushing against, you know, something you don't want, and the law of attraction is gonna bring you more of that. It's gonna bring you more things that offend you, and you're just gonna like get caught in this loop where you're just always offended and always fighting against something, and that's just a waste of your time. So stop it.
So there you have it, guys. Cancel culture. Much love. Take it easy.
Yeah. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for watching this episode from Appropriate Culture. If you want to watch other episodes, make sure to make your way to appropriateculture.com. You can also hang out with us in other social media platforms. They're all in the link in the description. And aside from that, if you want to listen to the podcast on other platforms like Audible, Spotify, any of those, you can also find us there as well. Link in the description. Take it easy, guys. Have a good day.